All right. Hello. Good morning, everyone here on the West Coast in the United States. Good afternoon, good evening for wherever you are in the world. This is Nancy Rebecca, and this morning I'm going to be talking about ascension symptoms and memory loss, or what I kind of filter it down to is dealing with the ascension mind. And I'm going to tell you, it's like a lifetime. I am not a neurologist. I'm not a nurse that worked in neurology. I probably learned, in 1/4 of nursing school about neurology. But so I'm going to give you this little, these tidbits from Nancy's perspective as a nurse, about the brain and about the memories and about how ascension symptoms are really impacting us right now. Hi, good morning, Donna from Newfoundland. Hi, Amy and Phyllis. Hi, Vicki. Hello, everyone. So I have a lot of notes, and this is going to be a lot of information again in a short period of time, but I'm really going to try to distill it down. And I have to tell you, I'm super excited about this information. So I think I'm just going to hop in. We've got about 26 of you on. I am live here on Facebook as well as on YouTube. So if there's anybody tuned in live on YouTube, go ahead and pop in. Hi, Zula Sue. Thank you very much. Right away, just want to make sure that connection is working quite well. So here we are on July 14th, and we had an amazing super moon on the 13th. Also happened to be my son's birthday. Can you believe I have a 42-year-old son? I can't believe that. I have a 21-year-old grandson. I mean, it just blows my mind because I don't think that I'm old enough to have a son or grandson that old. So good morning, Jennifer from Seattle. What's everybody drinking? How's everybody doing? And fortunately here in Tacoma, Washington, we actually had a clear sky last night, so I could actually see the moon. So that was an extra bonus. All right. Yes, good morning. Happy Thursday, and also over the moon. All right. So dealing with your ascension mind. So again, all the conversations that we in the kind of the spiritual realm have been talking about is that we are moving through to higher states of consciousness. If you think about it in the form of frequency, again, you've heard me say this, at the third dimensional realm, we have the physical frequency, the real life boots on the ground, what the heck is happening in our world dimension. That's the third dimension that we're living in. That is not the only dimension that exists in our life, but that's the dimension that most people on the face of the earth tend to focus on. But we also have, where we are multidimensional beings, so we actually exist, our spirit exists in multi-dimensions. So that's what I mean by that. Now, what are ascension symptoms? Ascension symptoms are those type of symptoms where you don't feel good, you're having a lot of problems, you go to the doctor, you have these complaints, and then yet the doctor can't find anything wrong with you. Many times it can be that your body is attempting to integrate these higher frequencies. It's attempting to rise to the occasion. So today we're really talking about the brain. This July, right in the middle of July, with this full moon, we are having another huge leap. All my students are talking about it. We're having great conversations about it on our calls about this expansiveness. And many, I had several of them saying, they feel like they've kind of got this bubble around their head, and they feel like their intuition's off, but actually their intuition is almost more accurate than it ever has been. And so I'm like, yeah, that makes total sense. It makes total sense, but we struggle to kind of describe it. So just to let you know that. So with the mind and ascension symptoms of the mind, you can experience memory loss, gaps in memory, new kind of visions coming through your mind. Maybe old triggered trauma memories are coming to the surface. Trouble finding words, that's my big one. Like, I can see the memory right in front of me. I can describe the memory, but I cannot kind of put it in a nutshell. So there's a lot that's on the rise. In our brain, we are letting go of a lot of blocked energy that can no longer be sustained in those higher vibrations. So your Ascension Mind is really a part of those kind of major leaps in vibrational frequencies. And then you want to add solar flares and photonic light codes coming from the cosmos that are coming in. I think we just had this kind of CERT machine that was activated over in Europe that's kind of an atom, I don't know, compressor. And, and it's just huge, and how it impacts. So we're being impacted a lot by this. And then the question is, do you think we're being rewired? Yeah, we're experiencing rewiring. And I'm going to talk a lot about that a little bit more in the frontal lobe, because it's the frontal lobe that we really want to see expanded, because it's so full of so much functioning in our brain. And these ascension symptoms are really some of the most important questions that we need to be asking ourselves right now. But did you know that your brain uses 20% of the energy that you have every day to get your body to function? 20%, although it takes up one of the smallest spaces of your entire physical system. It takes up 20% energy just to process all the information that's coming in. And did you know that the myth that we use only 10% of our brain, that we have this capacity to use our brain so much more? Did you know that the myth is that we use only 10% of our brain is false? So I don't know if you heard that growing up. I most certainly did. But I really loved reading about how that's just not true. We use all of our brain for all of our functions. And curiosity is the key. When I was thinking about Albert Einstein, when they did an autopsy, they expected to have this like huge brain that looks really different on the inside. But in actuality, he had this enormous curiosity to want to explore. So I want you to take that pencil and that piece of paper. Curiosity in big letters is going to be your saving grace. Number 2, creativity. Bathing your brain in creative thoughts, creative actions is going to help really your brain to be able to integrate. Now, memories of the brain. When you have a stressful experience, a fearful experience, maybe it would be quite traumatic for you. When you have that memory, I'm going to call it, it's kind of vibrating and shaking in a very stressful, fearful way. To me, I see those types of memories as kind of black, white, and gray. It's like reading a black and white newspaper. It has no color to it. When you have a stressful memory experience, it gets stored in a different place in your brain. So trauma and fear gets stored in a different place. Now, this is the part that I found really interesting is, so let's say you have a car accident and that really rattled your cage. It's going to take a little bit before those memories get stored. But once they are stored, they're almost no longer accessible to you. It's hard to access those PTSD memories. But it takes a while for them to get stored after the event happened. So right away, if you start talking about it, you start talking to your family, it's like, wow, this other car just came out of nowhere. They ran that stop sign. I was so afraid and terrified. My car flipped. Thank goodness for my seatbelt. As you start to talk about that trauma memory, it begins to add color to it. So now, there is not going to be any neurologist that's going to look at this and go, what in the hell is she talking about? But this is how my brain works. We add color to it. It gets stored in a place that's always accessible to us to work with. So getting to talk about any event that happened, your husband, your wife, your kids, your therapist, the faster it's going to kind of turn to color and be stored in a different place. Because when it's stored in stress and fear, then it's harder to kind of unlock, especially if you've had, like I think about the vets that went to Afghanistan or Iraq and they've had experiences. And if they just like, well, get your gun and get back out there again, and they never really kind of deal with that stress that just happened that day, it's probably going to be beneficial to find somebody to help you unlock those memories. So again, if something startles you, journal about it, draw pictures about it, talk to somebody about it, and that'll help it get stored in the right place and be more easily accessible. So what's happening right now? As the frequency of your brain rises, it's starting to unlock some of those fear memories, stress memories, PTSD memories. It's starting to unlock those. They're starting to kind of move up a little bit more into the light. They're starting to get illuminated. And so, yeah, that ascension brain can start to say, why are these things kind of flooding back now? I thought that I dealt with those things. So, yeah. So I talk about, intuitive mind is the entire aura, the entire chakras, the body, the brain, the nervous system, the whole gut brain axis, everything I've been talking about, because you receive information through the aura for your brain to digest. So in your brain, that there's kind of a darker, they call it darker matter, but it's right around the outside of the brain. It's a little bit thicker, maybe a little bit more fibrous. And that's the part that it's the cortex that really brings in that first level of information and then disperses it in the right place. So now think about the light codes that are being kind of downloaded, those really high frequencies. You can imagine that cortex is quite vibrating, in light and really trying to quickly organize. So if we have congestion or blocks there, it can be really challenging for that higher wisdom and knowledge of spirit to really come through in deeper ways. So it's like boxes are being cleared out, old ways of thinking are being cleared out, dissolved, dissipated, so that we can bring in that higher knowledge. I remember in 2008, I was writing a book, and I probably got about halfway through it before I quit. And the guidance that I was getting in 2008 was that we were going to be having an explosive awakening of consciousness on the earth. And that even those that I knew that were hardcore doubters, that they didn't believe that this was going to happen, they didn't believe in intuition or psychic ability, that one day during this expansive process, they may just have a full-blown awakening, and that they could kind of ascend faster than those of you who've been at this at 10, 20, 30, even 40 years or a lifetime. I remember sharing this with one of my friends in Africa, one of my teachers in Africa. He said, that's not possible, because we were referencing someone who was really negative about spiritual expansion. And I said, yeah, one day we could wake up and he could be more expanded than we are. And he's like, yeah, that's not possible. But that's what Spirit said, and that's what we're starting to see. So all around you, you want to kind of keep your mind open to knowing that everyone is waking up. Trees are waking up, the earth is waking up, the moon, the sun, the stars, the cosmos, everything is waking up. So what does that mean? Well, it doesn't mean it was asleep. It just means that the vibration's gone higher so that we can we're ready for higher knowledge. It'd be like, okay, you're in kindergarten, we can teach you to read one word, but by the time you're a senior in high school, you can handle more information. So it's kind of like that. Okay. I'm trying to look at my clock. So the cortex is the outermost layer, the brain stem way in the back, it's right up at the top of your neck. So you might want to take your hand, put it back there, because when your body's engaged and it's creative and you're actually participating, you add color to the memory. So right now we're going to add color to the memory, and it's more likely to kind of stick, this knowledge. So right at the back, just at the top is your brain stem, and that helps function your heart rate, your breathing, all kind of normal function. If you were knocked unconscious, you're still going to breathe and your heart's still going to beat, and it regulates temperature. So that's there. I've already talked about the cortex that helps spread messages around. That's that kind of darker outer layer. The brain stem, I already said that. There's the center of the brain that helps communicate the right and left side of the brain. The frontal lobe, so right here, and I would say just this part here is the frontal lobe of your brain. So that's really all about problem solving, judgment, motor function. The parietal part of the brain is right behind the frontal, and that part's all about handwriting, body position, managing sensations in the body. For you empaths out there, that one would be quite active. The temporal lobe, so what is this? This is the temple, right? These are the temple. So it's right here. It's like the temporal lobe goes right over the ears, right over the ears on the inside of the brain, right? That's the temporal lobe. That's all about your memories and hearing. And this is the thing about the temporal lobe. I call it the emotional part of the brain. The emotional part of the brain. So when there's a lot of emotion, it can be challenging to remember things. You can feel kind of stuck. And that's where another place where we get challenged. And then the occipital lobes is where the brain's visual system is. So you've got your optic nerves that go from the eye all the way back, and that's where you have the visions. So your entire brain works together. The frontal lobe helps activate visions and imagination and images to kind of help guide you along the way. Oh my goodness, there's a lot here. The brain, the brain, the brain. So what ascension symptoms, what kinds of things may be impacting you? How would you know that you might be having some ascension symptoms? Are you having challenges to regulate your body rhythm, such as sleeping at night, hot when it's cold, cold when it's hot, inability to regulate your hormones and balance your responses to life? Are you having trouble holding a concentrated focus? Well, that could be another ascension symptom. Do you struggle to monitor your energy field, monitor your behaviors, monitor your emotions? Are you struggling to monitor those things? Can you get organized and prioritize? If you're struggling with organizing and prioritizing, that means that your brain is a little bit in overload as these higher frequencies are coming in. Speech, again, this is a big one. And Marco, I will talk to you about the daily practice you can do to integrate your experiences. So again, speech can be rudimentary. You can have trouble having more expressive conversations. Your personality can be muted, one track, one direction, leaving you limited in your ability to express your true self. Your mind, you just don't have a flexible mind. You find it stressful to think outside the box. You might lose your ability to inhibit your behaviors, to manage your behaviors. Planning, strategizing, memory loss, memory recall. Your perception of events might be off. Your perception of what's going on in a relationship might be off. So this is off as your brain is trying to shift out the old and bring in the new. Of course, other symptoms such as insomnia and headaches, dizziness, ringing in the ears, nausea. But all of that is shifting out so you can experience a new level of intelligence. So now I want to talk about hearing, because hearing, even if someone is deaf, when sound comes in, when they've done an MRI, it activates the brain. So hearing activates the brain. Did you know that the brain, as humans, we can only hear up to, the human ear can only hear 20 kilohertz. And yet if angels are singing, that might be at 1,000 kilohertz. It might be at 500 kilohertz or higher frequencies. And so those higher frequencies still activate the brain, even though you literally cannot hear them, because as a human, you can only hear up to 20 kilohertz. So higher frequencies are very calming. So you can find sounds and music that has those higher kilohertz. You can look it up online, find music online that weaves some of those higher frequencies in. It's very calming to the brain. But this was the thing about light. Light also lights up the brain. And what are we having? A lot of photonic light that's coming in. That photonic light, even if we can't see it, is impacting our brain. Remember, you probably heard me talk about this big study where you or I could be looking at this screen. They've got our brain all hooked up, and the screen is blank. And yet our brain will respond to the image that's just about ready to be shown on the screen, whether it's violent or whether it's flowers or whether it's a child blowing bubbles or whether it's a car wreck. Your brain responds appropriately to the image, even though you can't visually see it. So now I just want to talk about, in World War II, they found that there were pilots that when they were given a mission to go down and bomb a place, some pilots froze. They completely froze. They couldn't think. They couldn't even remember all the training they had done. They couldn't function. And then you had other pilots that could function. Now, this part's really important. What they found was when someone felt their stress go out of control, the out of control stress flooded their frontal lobe. They lost all capacity to reason and to function and to strategize and to plan very quickly. They were like, oh my God, I'm going to die. I'm going to go down. And so if they kind of went with that fear and stress, it really shut down. It's like all systems completely shut down, like the power went down to the house. That happens in their frontal lobe. But the other pilots that kept going, they were able to, let me just say things like, no problem, I've got this, we're going to hit our target easily, whether your thinking was real or imagined. And this is what the point I want to make. It didn't matter if it was, they were really easily going to hit their target, or they just imagined this kind of false sense of security. So what we're learning here about the brain with ascension symptoms is being able to work with your imagination is really going to help you override that. So I know Marco was saying, what's a daily practice that we can do? So what they talked about students in medical school while they were studying for the boards, they were to imagine taking the boards, imagine that they would be calm, imagine that they've got this, imagine that the answers are going to come really easily to them, imagine acing that board test with ease and effortlessness, imagine celebrating afterwards. So one of the key things is imagination, which is beautiful because imagination is the way that I teach through experience. So again, as some of you were talking about, think about what's coming up and then imagine what that day is going to be like and start letting go of the stress ahead of time. And so with the pilots now, since that initial study, 70 whatever years ago, that they have their pilots visualize, have their pilots know if they're going to get triggered by fear or if they can keep moving. So what can you do? So definitely, what are the two highest? Walking, exercise, meditation. Those are the two highest ways on a daily basis that you can really help your brain to more easily integrate and release all of that old energy. You can play games, do puzzles, anything that's going to challenge the mind, crosswords, anything like that on a daily basis is going to keep your mind very active, keep those synapses going. But even more than that, what they said is challenging your mind. expanding your mind, learning something new. So remember at the beginning of the talk when I said put curiosity at the top of your list. Be curious about learning, want to learn. If something's happening, it's like, I don't know why that's happening. Well, go do some research on it. Or let's say I've always wanted to cook, but I don't even know how to boil water. That's the other key. The more challenging it is, the more it's going to stretch you. A cooking class, a French cooking class, when you don't even know how to boil water, that's going to really activate your brain at this kind of 3D level that's going to allow more fifth dimensional information to come through. Learning how to play golf. The two top things were learning a new language and learning how to play an instrument. So those were huge, but meditation and exercise is the biggest thing. So we are going to do a little meditation here, and we're going to run some energy through the brain, because that's another thing that you can do is bring healing energy through the brain to just help soothe, calm it, and to help kind of clear out what's being dissolved, what's being cleared out. So again, think of your brain as that child in school, and you're not going to keep your second grade mind when you are a junior at university. You don't need to. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to clear out, or just set the intention to start letting go of some of those old energy blocks of our mind, especially when you're young and you think, oh, I'm not very smart. How long do you carry those stories? I have ADD, I can't focus, I have dyslexia. Well, people with ADD and dyslexia, they have brilliant minds that just weren't quite ready for this time on earth right now. So those minds of ADD and dyslexia are going to start having a much easier time than the rest of us during these changes. So that's a big eye opener, isn't it? All right. Let's do a little meditation. So in this meditation, we're going to close our eyes and we're just going to run some energy through our brain, okay? All right, go ahead. Get yourself comfortable. Close your eyes. Turn your focus inward. Say hello to that wonderful body of yours, and especially say hello to that incredible brain of yours. That helps you no matter what you imagine in life, even if you don't believe it, even if it doesn't seem possible. If you imagine it, your brain is going to combine with your spirit and help you make it possible. So thank your brain. Say hello to your spirit. Ask your spirit to help you identify some areas in your brain today that are old and outdated, and ask your spirit to help you to let go so that you can more easily expand into the consciousness that you desire. Now imagine an image. Even if you can't see the image, you can only feel it, hear it, or know it. Imagine an image and go ahead and ground yourself from about the area of your navel, belly button area, out past your hips. Kind of go ahead and ground your energy field to the center of the earth. Nice grounding. Some of you are getting very quick with your grounding. It seems like the frequency today really supports grounding. Once you get to the magnetic core, imagine another image. Remember, imagination is going to really help your brain. Imagine another image that's going to wrap around the magnetic core to really help stabilize your energy field, especially during this expansive time. Now we're going to ground your brain. So if you kind of held your palms of your hands together, you can imagine your brain, if it was out of your skull, it would just sit very nicely in the palms of your hands. So let's just keep it there in your skull, but just imagine this kind of broad grounding at the top. It's just going to be like a grounding cord. It's going to be very supportive of your brain, the brain stem, the brain in the back, the sides, the front. And then go ahead and let that grounding cord go all the way down through the center of your body, and let that grounding cord attach, go all the way through your main grounding and attach to the center of the earth. As you kind of pull or intend that that grounding of your brain gets stronger and stronger, it's going to help stabilize your mind so that you can kind of regulate your thoughts. But it also functions as a drain. So whatever is old energy there, it's just going to start right now draining right down your grounding, all that old energy. Now we're going to bring through the color blue. Now, for some of you, your spirit may want you to go with a very dark lapis blue, cobalt blue, royal blue, midnight blue, or your spirit may ask you to just go very light sky blue or anywhere in between. Now, if you start working with dark blue and you start to get a little headachy, you feel a little nauseated, maybe a little dizzy, then the color is too dark for you. So just go lighter, because light can be very healing and powerful as well. So just check in with your own intuitive instincts and then ask that that large ball of whatever blue color you're choosing just come right into the room where you are, right above your head, and then just let it start flowing through your entire energy field, just this color blue. And is it calming and relaxing, or does it feel a little stressful? Then lighten up the color. You're just kind of filling your aura up right now, Filling your body up with this blue, letting it flow right down your grounding. Now imagine this blue coming into your physical brain. And again, very light, very gentle, very calming, very kind. Let it come right into your brain and it's almost like a silky flow. You're just going to let this silky flow move from the frontal lobe of your brain, bathing the frontal lobe that's right behind your forehead area. Apologies about my dogs and the garbage truck. Let it flow. Just rinsing, just flowing like silk up through your forehead, and then let it just like gently roll back to the back of your head. Let that blue flow down to the occipital area, the back of the brain, and then just a gentle rocking. Let it just kind of flow over to the left side of the brain and the right side of the brain. Dissolving any blocking energy that limits you from expanding. And remember, you created that drain that supports the brain and goes all the way down to the center of the earth. So if you're noticing there's any congestion there, just drop it right down that grounding drain. Remind yourself of today's date, or whatever date you're watching the recording, and remind yourself of how old you are. Remind your brain of today's date. Remind your brain of how old you are. Imagine now that blue flowing right out the back of the head, and then you roll it forward and it's going to flow right out your forehead. It's going to flow to the right, flow out the side of your head. Just going to keep rinsing out any congested energy there very lightly. Now, in your imagination, set your intention. I've got this. We're going through rapid changes, but I've got this. I'm going to be able to easily expand into higher states of consciousness without any effort, any problems, any struggle. I'm going to easily be able to integrate everything that comes through that's going to be the right pace for me. And then set your intention that you're going to try to exercise a little more, meditate a little more. And then right now, just quickly, just ask your spirit, what is a hobby or a new activity, a new class, a new something that I can do that's going to really help me with my curiosity, expand my learning, to help me expand the limitations of my mind. So right now, just see if you can get a sense of a new activity that you're going to learn. Whew, I think just thinking about a new activity moved more energy than the meditation itself. So that was cool to experience that. All right, whenever you're ready, go ahead and open your eyes and make some notes. And if you got a new activity, a new class, a new course, I always think about golf, like that would really challenge me. Go ahead and post it in the comments section what the new things that you're going to be learning. So yeah, it builds resilience. Our mind is going to get there. It's just that struggle part when we don't quite understand what's happening. And so again, you can just imagine just that beautiful blue running through your mind, meditating, imagining situations long before they happen in your life. So like tomorrow, we have Free Healing Friday at the Intuitive Mind Center. Am I afraid? No. Am I stressed about it? No. Am I excited about it? Yes. But I will, and I always do, imagine that full day. I imagine people coming in and getting to experience healings. I imagine letting go of anything that might get in the way. And so think of a project you've got coming up in the next week that you might kind of visualize and anticipate that's going to be coming up, and start clearing the energy ahead of time so that your brain can not have to deal with it on the spot, that it can deal with it ahead of time. So, all right. Someone wrote, I'll play golf with you. So, all right, everyone, just to let you know, my only two announcements. We have the fall equinox that is coming up, and so those tickets will go on sale soon. And then September 28th, we're going to open up our Psychic Mastery 1 program again for our second registration this year. We'll open that up September 28th, so get ready for that too. All right, everyone, have a wonderful, wonderful week and have fun stretching the limitations of your mind. Take care.